everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit spicy. So the draw stream for August just passed, and Teshi talked about a lot of things, and a few things were kind of announced, and somebody went onto the cartoons and comics thread on 4chan and basically did a bullet point list of some of the things that she said. Now, I wasn't there for the entirety of the draw stream, but I was there for a few things, and I can tell you that two of the things on the list are true, technically to a certain extent. As far as the rest of them, I don't know. I currently have somebody looking into it to see how much of that stuff is true, but I want to talk about it now because it's fresh in my head and I got ideas. And so, let's begin. The first thing is that two new pages are going to be slipped into Golden Hour, where Paulo will fantasize about cuddling with James while he is hugging Matt. This is going to be the start, if it is true, of some sort of retconning slash recontextualizations. One of the biggest issue with James, which I wrote about in a video that I haven't even begun to record the audio for because I'm working on the comic dub right now, I talk about how James was poorly implemented into the story and it has raised a lot of questions, and there are also a lot of missed opportunities regarding James and Paulo's bisexuality. But if this is true, then that means Teshi is taking another step towards working that into the story, even if it's after the fact. It might be a little Frankenstein-y, but we'll see when the pages, if they ever come out, or when they come out. They also said that there is going to be another chapter inserted in between Ice Block and Dial Tone, about 20 to 30 pages long, and it's going to be about Paulo. I'm going to assume that this is also going to be part of her kind of retconning and recontextualizing everything between Paulo and James, though this is all the information I have. Looking at what she might possibly do with Golden Hour, which comes before these chapters, I'm thinking that this is going to be the case. Now, of course, Ice Block is a little intermission between Paulo and David getting ice cream, and Dial Tone is a nightmare that Mike has before he goes to school between Sandy and Lucy. I don't think either of those are really going to have any sort of impact on what this chapter is going to be. I think it's just going to be a Paulo x James chapter, possibly showing James being part of Paulo's journey into bisexuality. Or maybe it'll just be a day in the life at Burgertron where Paulo and James are working together. Who knows? So Teshi has gotten sick of people not getting what she was going for in Eternal Flame and is going to edit it. Now, I don't know specifically what this is referring to, but I have two ideas for what she might edit. The first thing, and I think the biggest one, is probably making it more apparent that Lucy is the one that went in for the kiss. A big misconception, and understandably so, and maybe this is something she retconned after the fact, or maybe she intentionally made it vague, but for whatever reason, people believe that Mike is the one that went in for the kiss, when Teshi later would say that Lucy's the one that went in. So I'm thinking that she's probably going to make it more apparent that it is the other way around. The other thing I think she's going to do is implement On Call into Eternal Flame. On Call was part of a cut phone call scene from Eternal Flame. And since it's basically all done now, all she has to do is re-implement it back into that chapter by updating the art and maybe some of the dialogue. It would make sense to do that rather than just have On Call be a weird intermission several chapters after the fact. Those are the most likely candidates of things to change, and maybe some other general dialogue changes that help things flow a little bit better. Though if you guys have any other ideas of what she could possibly be changing, let me know in the comments section below. Mike's depression arc is going to continue and become more severe. From my perspective, Mike was kind of starting to go on the up and up. He's upset with Sandy and things don't feel right with her, but I felt like with the track team, things were getting better for him. But looking at some of the dialogue from Date Night, it does seem that Mike is starting to go down a slippery slope, a spiral where he's constantly self-deprecating. He hates himself, he doesn't believe that he deserves any kindness, and so it would make sense if his depression arc continued and got more severe. This is going to be interesting, and will it lead to him committing suicide or trying to remains to be seen. But since Teshi loves doing the yin and yang, she loves her poetry because it rhymes, I'm going to say a little prediction and say that it might be leading to a possible Mike suicide attempt. This chapter and the one after this one are supposed to be very dramatic. Well, I mean, yeah, that could mean literally anything. Every chapter in this comic is really dramatic, so is it even more dramatic than normal, or what are we looking at here? This could also just be her drumming up hype to keep people reading. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on in this post. But I'm going to assume that the chapter after this one might be all about the Valentine's Day meetup between Sandy and Mike, or it could be something to further his depression arc. Allegedly, Teshi has finished the next chapter. Once we get to that, then the 3 days a week update will go back into effect. Now, looking at all the things that she wants to do, inserting new pages, adding new chapters, it kind of makes sense why things are taking longer. On top of working on the Volume 7 book, and possibly a new Augustus plushie, they kind of teased at possibly doing something with him, and maybe a few other things, the transcription project. It makes sense that those things would probably be taking up a lot of her time, and why things are going so slow right now. But once she gets to the next chapter, things are probably going to go a lot smoother. I'll be talking about this a little bit more later, but she's definitely still trying to drum up hype and trying to keep people on reading the comic. So Amaya is non-binary. Now this is the one that I know for a fact is true because I was there and I heard it myself. She said that she was NB. Well, I don't know a lot of the modern words and things, so forgive me. But Amaya is non-binary, but not openly because it's 2008. Teshi also mentioned, and it's not on this list, but Teshi also mentioned that she writes all of her characters to be bisexual until she overtly makes the decision to either make them fully gay, just keep them bisexual, or make them straight. So far, the only character we know for a 100% fact that is straight is Jordan, and everyone else, it's completely up in the air. This explains a lot about why all the characters just became bisexual all of a sudden. It's because that's how she perceives the characters and she doesn't tell anyone. And she also made a comment about how, in her mind, if someone is cute and likes you back, then why not go ahead and like them too? I don't necessarily agree with that stance, but I'm not bisexual and I don't know her brain, and also these are her characters. I at least understand it, and that makes it a lot better. Finn was secretly Francis the whole time. This is not true. What happened is that Teshi repurposed a possible Francis design as Finn. But the fact that Teshi is coming up with designs for Francis, which no one knows what he looks like really, means that it is possible that Francis may make an appearance later on in the story in a future chapter. Maybe the next chapter, or maybe the current one, who knows? Maybe during the Valentine's Day thing. But I think it's safe to say that we're definitely going to see Francis at some point. So the Webtoons updates are going to eventually catch up with the main comic sometime next year. This is probably because the main comic is doing 1 page a week and the Webtoons is still doing 3 pages a week. This is going to be interesting because when you go on the comments for the Webtoons, people are saying a lot of stuff and they don't necessarily realize all the stuff that's getting ready to happen that will answer some of their questions. It's really interesting, and I'm kind of surprised that those people don't just go to the main website and read the comic anyway. Like, I get some people just like reading off the Webtoons app, but I think that if you're going to read it on Webtoons, you might as well go to the main site and read it. If I have any Webtoons readers here that just exclusively read it off Webtoons, let me know why you guys are doing that and why you haven't decided to go ahead and catch up to where everyone else is at, which is very slow right now. So Teshi has lost 180 patrons since last year. It is true, BCB's Patreon has been on a downturn. Ever since around Eternal Flame, people have been steadily unsubscribing, and especially once they started going to once a week updates rather than 3 days a week, it started to go down even sharper. And then of course, if it continues on that trend, by 2026 she will be completely out of subscribers. Since they're gonna go back to 3 days a week, I think things are gonna even out and start going back up. I don't know if they're gonna go all the way up to where it was at Eternal Flame, but I think it's gonna go back up. The thing is, if you're only getting 1 page a week, there's really no big incentive to be subscribed because you're not consistently or constantly getting the next page 3 days a week. It makes sense that when the content slows down, the number of people willing to pay for said content is going to slow down. I don't necessarily know how good of a decision it was to continue that 1 page a week update into this new chapter, especially considering that as it's going, this new chapter, which supposedly only takes place over the course of 1 evening, is going to last all the way until April 15th, 2024. That's like a quarter of the way into the new year. A lot of people might just start getting bored because things are taking so long. I know that Teshi is working on all the other stuff, and I think the fact that she, allegedly, if all this is true, the fact that she's being open and saying, okay, we are updating the story and we are going to be adding a lot more stuff to it, is probably in part to try to keep people on, as well as saying, oh, it's about to get really crazy, which it's always getting really crazy in this comic. I can't think of a single time, for better or for worse, where it isn't super dramatic. Those are my thoughts on everything that was said in that post of the stuff that was announced during the draw stream. Like I said, I don't know how true some of this stuff is. People on 4chan have a tendency to exaggerate things or mislead you on things. Like I said, I know for a fact 2 of those things were true, but 1 of them was kind of misleading. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you guys for checking this video out. What do you guys think about everything that was supposedly talked about or announced during the draw stream? It kind of feels like a sort of Nintendo Direct kind of thing. A Bittersweet Candy Bowl Direct. It'd be really cool if they made a video like that announcing all the stuff, all the changes that were going to be happening, rather than just kind of dropping it on the website during the new page update. But what do you guys think? You think it's all true? You think it's bullshit? If it is true, do you think that these are good things or bad things? Are they going to lead to better things? Do you think the next chapter is going to be crazy? Do you think Mike's going to try to kill himself? Whatever it is, you think something even crazier is going to happen? You think Carter's going to come back? You think they're going to do time travel or alien invasions? I mean, the door is wide open, the window's wide open for whatever. But that's all I have to say for today. Thank you guys so much for checking this video out, and I will catch you next time.